Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Your Money Life podcast. Wherever you're listening, we thank you for coming back and listening again. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get episodes every time. You get a notification whenever I have a new episode out. If you're listening on Spotify, podcast, any podcast media, Spotify, Apple, make sure you like, subscribe, 5-star rate and review, and leave comments for every listening. Make sure you leave some comments for us all. We're going to get right to it, folks. We have a lot to discuss, and we're going to get right into the first thing, which is what is going on in the world. First and foremost, we'll start with the markets and give a brief market update like we always do. The market got a little jittery over the past week, 10 days, based on the fact that economic data came out in regards to inflation, in regards to the jobs and jobs report. And those numbers are a little bit more robust than we've previously seen in the last few trends for the data. So what does that mean? That the Fed will have to be forced potentially to be a little bit more hawkish or to be a little bit more stringent on fighting inflation, because inflation doesn't seem to be going anywhere in particular, especially when we look at how many jobs were created in January and the PPI numbers and the CPI numbers. Those were a little bit more robust. They went a little bit higher than expectations. So the market got jittery in the fact that the Fed would have to fight inflation longer and harder. And so that would, potentially what it did is create a pullback in equities last week as we re-rated what we thought for the Fed's moves over the next two meetings. But in general, on the flip side, you saw strong earnings. I think corporate earnings have been a little bit better than expected. Guidance has been stronger. Salesforce came out with stronger guidance, and some other companies came out with stronger guidance. Some of the retailers had strong numbers and prints on the top and bottom line, which has been a backdrop for the markets and investors and buyers to say, all right, things for earnings for companies aren't as bad as we'd expect in a recessionary environment. So why would I not buy some of these stocks that have been re-rated, especially in the past week and a half? So that's what's going on right now. I think, again, a few more months of, bouncing back and forth, consolidation in a trading range, but generally okay times and less volatile times until we get more data from the Fed or a change of direction from the Fed. That's kind of going to be the play. So the March data is going to be really interesting as well. What happens in March as far as the CPI and the PPI, all that data will play a part into where the market goes, the direction the market's going to go over the next, several months. So we'll look at that data very closely. In more news, I just think this is more popular culture news, but Cardi B, her and Offset, her husband, partner, they have come out with their own new meal. All right. They've come out with their own new meal. And it looks like the franchises aren't loving it. They're reportedly refusing to promote it. They're worried the couple's R-rated lyrics could tarnish the family brand of the Golden Arches. So Cardi B and Offset have a new meal promotion brand deal with McDonald's, but the franchisees of certain McDonald's across the nation aren't really wanting to promote this new meal because they're afraid that the offensive music will destroy the family. No, I don't know. I don't believe this. I think Cardi B and Offset are going to bring more people, whatever demographic McDonald's is looking for, into their restaurants because of their popularity, especially among a lot of different people. So I don't know. I don't agree with this one. I think they bring in more people, not shade people away. But that's their way to feel that way. I guess you can promote what you want to promote. You don't have to promote what you don't want to promote, but might hurt their sales in any event. Let's skip on from more Cardi B news and talk about student loan forgiveness. So Biden and the student loan forgiveness plan, where President Biden plans to cancel up to $20,000 in federal student loan debt for qualified borrowers. The program was halted. We talked about this a long time ago. The program was halted in November. There was 6 GOP-led states that brought a case against it. And guess what? It's still on pause. But the U.S. court, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, is going to decide what happens going forward. They're going to bring their arguments. I think the debt plan relief will be good for a lot of people out there. If this can get passed, it will help people that have a little bit left on their loan to pay it off. It'll help people that have a lot on their loan to pay it off. As long as they're qualified borrowers, they'll be able to get that much needed payment. Especially with people with lower income, and it's going to take them a longer time to pay off any debt that they owe. This would be a situation where you get that extra boost, and helpful boost for those people. So we'll have to be watching what happens in these hearings and these court proceedings, to see if they're still able to get this off pause and push this forward for plenty of borrowers across the country. In a shift, there's a TikTok ban. So not only is the national security is a lot of U.S. states, on the state level as well as the federal level, they are worrisome of TikTok and the app that is obviously a Chinese-owned app. It's owned by a Chinese company. They're now looking to limit the amount of time that kids are on this app, right? So they're looking to limit the amount of time that kids are on TikTok. That was a headline that I saw recently as well. So looking to limit the amount of time, and it's going to be something that we'll see. We'll see if the screen time that people are able to limit to 60 minutes. They're going to limit teens to 60 minutes as part of a new feature that's look to boost the well-being of its younger users. I know of people that I get on there, they're like, oh, I just watched TikTok for like a few hours. I'm like, oh, you could really do that. I didn't know you could do that. But people apparently can. The algorithm is so good that younger users are getting addicted, and this is a way for them to stop that. So they're looking to limit the daily screen time. You can limit screen time on your iPhone, right? On certain apps or just in your iPhone in general. You can limit screen time and set those parameters for yourself if you know you're addicted to a certain app or to a certain part. You can do that. So that's something I think is good for younger users, especially to get themselves in a better position. Mortgage demand. Mortgage demand is at a 3-decade low. Houses are sitting on the market longer. The value of houses are starting to dip, because they were ballooned in a bubble over the past couple of years, and now you're seeing that reversion to the mean. You see that reversion to mean that's going to continue to play out through the market. You're going to probably see that play out through the market over the next year, maybe 18 months. Especially in certain areas, right? But if you're especially the southeast United States, definitely. But if you're thinking about higher end value places, those will not re-rate as much just because of the liquidity, the buying power, and the purchasing power of someone that's buying more of a $3, $4, $5 million house versus $400,000 or $600,000, something of that nature, right? So there's a difference in those markets, but generally speaking, you'll see a reversion to the mean all across the U.S. in the housing market. There was a third street. The mortgage demand fell 6% last week from a week earlier. It's the third straight weekly drop, and it was down 44% year on year. This is according to MBA, the Mortgage Bankers Association. The average rate for a 30-year fixed rate home loan is now 6.71%. That's about half a percentage higher than a month ago, and up about 4%, up from about 4% in February of last year. So again, we've been talking about the housing market. We've been talking about different areas and different markets, and that's just one of the areas where you're going to see a lot more re-rating and downward pressure going forward. So yeah, just something to watch closely. There's not much news left, but Snap is now giving a subscription offering. That's quite interesting. A subscription offering serves Snap. I don't know if people are going to do that. That just seems like everyone's doing it. You saw Meta's doing it, social media, Meta on Instagram, at Facebook, Blue Check, Twitter already did it, was the first into the four-way. Twitter's numbers, I think, was 300,000 people did it, which is less than 1% of the users of Twitter. I don't know how many people are going to be keen to paying for usage of social media, which has always been a free platform for as long as we've known it. That's just not, I don't know how it's going to drive users. I don't know how it's going to play out, but we'll definitely be watching that closely. All right, folks, we're going to get into the roundtable, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about a concept of just random lessons of life that we are all pursuing and trying to get better at. One is the mental health aspect. I think it's really important. It's been a lot of bit more focus in the last 3, 4, 5 years. Mental health for all people out there. How are you taking care of your own mental health? Everyone has their own vice and things they gravitate towards too in times of need, right? Whether it's drugs, alcohol, bad food, entertainment. For me, it's like bad food. If I'm like stressed out or anxious, I'll probably dig more into the bad food than anything else, right? But when I'm calm and relaxed, I eat pretty clean. But if you look at that, how do we clear our minds in these situations? One, I think working out is a great way to clear your mind. That's one for me. I think another way is for those that need therapy or any of those things is super, super important to tap into. But focus on your number one priority in life. If you're stressed out, high anxiety, focus on the one priority that you want to really dig into, whether that's, career, family, all those things. Dig into that super hard to get yourself out of those stuck areas in life. Physical health is the next random thing we all need to focus on. It's such an important thing, especially as you get towards your 40s. I would say it gets even more important. Like if you're someone that's at peak physical shape in your 30s, it's really, really good, and not only good for you, it just adds from the fact of like later on health complications and feeling energized as you try to work, and all these different things that will lead to a better, more sound and healthy life. Social stuff is also important. If you think about people that are there for you and people that have been there for your friend group, keeping sound and solid relationships of good character people. If you've known someone, 5 or 10 years, show up for them, and make sure that you're there for them if they need it, right? If someone doesn't know someone for 5 or 10 years, kind of figure out why. Like if they just don't have that, maybe just that, it may just be, coincidence or maybe something deeper. So that's something that we all can pay attention to. And experience over items. That's an interesting one. Having experiences with your people over items is a big, big thing as well. Quality of life and lifestyle inflation. That's an interesting one. Life costs a lot more than people think. Um, so understanding what you want your quality of life to be, and avoiding over exuberant lifestyle and cost inflation is something that's really tough for everyone to do, right? But that's a big, big one for your overall quality of life going forward, I believe. Well, folks, we knocked out a lot in the short time that we have every week. So make sure you do something for me. Like, subscribe, share this on Spotify, Apple, also on YouTube. The YouTube numbers doing great for people that just want to watch it there. If you like it, I'll keep doing it on YouTube. And make sure you give feedback, comments, and the like. But guess what? We'll see you next week and hope you have a great week.